All right,
For you to start, Steve.
wonderful. Thank you, sir. So let's call to order this December 1st, 2022 meeting of the Norwalk Shellfish Commission. The chair notes that a quorum is present. Has attendance been taken?
It has.
Asking for approval of the minutes from the November meeting. Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
All right.
Yeah,
Ayes have it. Minutes approved from November. Public comment. I see that we have one person in as an attendee. Attendee, if you would like to comment, please raise your hand to be recognized by the moderator. And
I see
seeing,
nothing.
yep, me neither. Okay, great. But thank you for attending, attendee. And we'll move on to the treasurer's report, Bill.
It's the same as last month. There was nothing changed, but I will repeat it. So as of, it was 24,995 back on July 1st. And there was a revenues regarding the claiming permits of $4,365, totaling for a total of $29,212.50. Same
Great.
as last month.
Great. Just making a quick note. Okay, thanks. Secretary's report, no report. We'll move on to the committee reports. Again, Bill, Department of Health.
Okay, so for the month of October, we had 3.02 inches of rain. Last year for the month, we had 1.16 inches. And historically, we have 3.52 inches for the month of October. So we're a little bit under than normal. We had 3 closures on November 11th, again on the 16th, and again on the 27th, all due to rainfall. There were no notifications regarding any bypasses for the month.
Thank you, sir. No one is here from wastewater treatment. The Mayor's Water Quality Committee, which I just attended, I can give a quick report. Chairman Schnierlein had another engagement tonight, and Jeff, if I miss anything, please chime in. So there was a discussion of the annual rainfall being 13.5 inches below normal for 2022. And Bill gave a report for the readings of the low levels in the reservoir and said that the water emergency is still in effect. There was also a discussion of the marine commercial zoning goings on, as well as the Eversource HDD path under the harbor and under the northern part of the Donovan Boating Center. After that, there was a discussion of the artificial turf fields and the implications of PFAS and PFOS. And the meeting concluded with a member of Save the Sound and a discussion of the grades. And Ms. Lauricella discussed the possible mitigation of that through perhaps human intervention. Mr. Stedman, do you want to add anything to that?
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yes.
Oh, if I could, I think that the topics that were discussed and that you mentioned lend themselves, the committee agreed that those topics lend themselves to specific written recommendations having to do with the evaluation of the impacts of the artificial turf fields and how the Long Island Sound report card should make clear that some of the adverse conditions are not due to human impacts, but just geology and natural conditions. So in terms of addressing some of the topics that we discussed today, they'll be put in, the recommendations that follow will be put into a written report for January that will go to, you know, to city government and all other interested parties. I don't know if you want me to say anything more about the Eversource status as a result of the Harbor Commission meeting, but I can do that later if you wish.
Yeah, under Harbor, please, Jeff. Thanks.
Okay.
So permits, Bill and I have discussed the situation over at Fisherman's World, and Bill is looking into the maps. And perhaps we could approve the expenditure of maps if we need them. It's not clear that we do. There still may be inventory, but we certainly need the 2023 permit so we can get them underway. I know a lot of people head over to Fisherman's World traditionally right at the new year to buy their permits for the next spring and summer, maybe winter. The police, please, the Marine unit, Sergeant Biseglia.
Hey guys, we have nothing going on in the past month. All pretty quiet. Do want to say, I don't know if you guys have any need to be out on the water for anything in the winter, but if you do, give us a shout. We'd be more than happy to take you out with some heat so you can do what you got to do out there.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Advisory.
Could I make, Steve, could I
please,
make a
Jeff.
comment on Sergeant's
Please.
comment?
Yes, sir.
And we have to follow up with Harbor Master Lavallo, but I know he had been talking with someone from the Corps of Engineers who had indicated that they either one or two people from the Corps may wish to visit the harbor because they're reviewing the walk bridge plans. And if they did, I believe Officer Lavallo said that we would be, the Marine Police would be available to provide them an in-water view of the walk bridge area and some of the other sites. So that may be something. I'll check in with Bruce tomorrow, or maybe the sergeant has already talked with him. But that's something that we might need a some water transportation for if people from the Corps do visit.
I haven't talked to Bruce about that yet. He hasn't mentioned it, but we are more than happy to do whatever you guys need to do with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great. Advisory. Pete is not in attendance, but I do see Captain Pramer. Tim, would you like to say anything under advisory?
Water temperature is still in the 50s, really low, 50s. And we didn't get much of an oyster set, very light oyster set this year.
Interesting.
It is.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Tim. And Norwalk Harbor Management Commission. Jeff, again, please.
I guess I'll probably be repeating stuff you already know, but for the record, to report on the meeting on November 16th, which was a joint meeting of the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission to hear the latest proposal by Eversource for rerouting the electric cables underneath the harbor. And the proposal was presented to us by the Public Works Director. There were several Eversource officials that were present, but the most recent, the current proposal now, the previous proposal was going to avoid the visitors dock and hit land just to the north of the north dock. The current proposal will go directly underneath the north visitors dock and into the park. And the reason for doing this, as described to us, was that they were not able to negotiate with the property owner at 68 Water Street to angle the lines as they come from the police station down Elizabeth Street through the waterfront properties, but they were not able to negotiate an agreement with the property owners to angle through that property. And one of the reasons is that would adversely affect the future development opportunities on the property. So in other words, they have to go, they can't angle as far to the north, they have to go underneath the visitors dock. And the purpose of this presentation was not to have the two commissions agree or approve or have anything to do other than that we're aware of the plans and of the schedule. And so Eversource said that in January, they will be submitting the applications for the necessary approvals to do this. And there are several applications. They need to apply to the Connecticut Siting Council, since it's an electric facility, and they also need environmental permits from the DEP and the Corps of Engineers. And they said that they would be doing that, making those applications in January. So it's at that time that both the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission will fulfill their responsibilities to review these proposals. And then what happened last week was the Common Council agreed to or authorized the mayor to sign the necessary paperwork necessary to move ahead with the applications. And the Harbor Commission's comment was that not that these were approved, these routes were approved by the commission, but that we what's the proper word? Reaffirmed the responsibility to review these applications in January and provide comments and recommendations. And we also noted that the last time that the Common Council considered this matter, authorizing the mayor to sign the paperwork, this was back in 2018, but the project didn't move forward then. The council had a condition that there would be an affidavit signed by both Eversource and the city of Norwalk that would in effect make clear that the city would not be limited in its ability to maintain or repair or replace or enhance the dock in the future. Now that agreement was not, that sort of agreement was not considered last week, but that doesn't mean we can't argue for it in the application review process. And then the other thing that was interesting is that Eversource offered to provide to the Harbor Management Commission $50,000 and to the Shellfish Commission $10,000 as a result of this route. And some of us expressed concerns about taking that money, that it would set certainly doesn't, some of us feel it doesn't look very good at all, but also it sets a precedent that this is an application or proposal that would be reviewed by the Harbor Commission, and the appearance of accepting money from the applicant is not something I think that a number of us want to be involved with. But that's my report, and in January look forward to doing a fair and impartial review of this project and coming up with recommendations to protect the public interest that might be affected. Thank you, Steve. That's my long-winded discussion or presentation.
Not long-winded at all, Jeff. Very informative as always. Thank you, sir. That ends the committee reports. If I could have a motion to accept them as read.
Motion to accept them as read.
Thanks, Nick. Second, John. Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. And time to move on to old business. And thankfully, we have a quorum and we have Mr. Bajek here with us tonight. So maybe we can help move through some of his projects. First of which, if we could, Jim, would be the Roten Point Association. We had mentioned our desire for a live sand beach in that low intertidal region instead of the permanent structure. And you kindly mentioned that you would go back to your client for commentary in that regard. Do you have any report regarding same?
Yes, I did discuss this in pretty great detail with the client. And they explained to me that they tried a multitude of different things to try to make it safer, at the end of the existing ramp. And they tried putting makeshift pieces of plywood down. They tried raking the area. The area is exposed enough that it just keeps moving the sand and other material around to the point where it leaves a lot of cobble in where they have to launch the boats, and the children have slipped, and actually a couple of them got hurt. Trying to push launch the boat and recover it. The plywood didn't work well. It washed away. They tried to pin it down. It's just, the real issue here is the ramp is just too short, and it was permitted to be that way, but unfortunately, it just doesn't work right, and at times it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think I had mentioned my personal opinion was that a slippery, low subtidal ramp wouldn't be much safer. So they had no specific comment with respect to having a live sand beach.
They said it wouldn't last.
Okay. Did you mention that they had tried sand there before?
Well, they raked the area before to create it, more of a, more or less a sandy beach area. And, it just, everything moves in that area, all the sediment, stones, the sand. It's just a high enough energy environment that it's just not stable enough.
Yeah, perhaps if there was, I mean, do we know what the substrate is below the cobble on the surface?
I haven't done any borings or anything like that, or digging. All we can do is, I've talked to the manager there, and she said, they tried, smoothing things out, and it just, things move around too much over there.
There's an awful lot of cobble there. I mean, any smoothing out they did must have been done a long time ago.
Perhaps, and maybe they just gave up, trying to do it.
Yeah. And I won't speak for the other commissioners tonight, but I mean, I just can't support paving the subtidal zone. I have an issue with that.
Well, I mean, I guess you'll have to, the Shellfish Commission will have to make a decision on how they want to, make their recommendation.
Any motions want to be put on the floor or discussion prior to a motion in this regard?
Steve, I have a question for you. I think you did say at one point where you had an example of a live sand beach that seemed to work. Could you remind us where that was?
So, I mean, there are live sand beaches from the Darien side all the way to Sheffield.
No, I mean with the kind of you pointed out to one of the.
Oh, yeah. So that's at Cap Pasture. Yep, that's at Cap Pasture, near the old sailing school and the auxiliary Coast Guard barracks. Yeah, they launched
Jim,
over sand.
Right. Jim, do you know kind of in terms of the kind of the grade there in terms of the depth and how long it is, whether that's equivalent to the area you're talking about?
As far as what area that we would need to get into to good enough water for launching the boats.
Yeah, you said your area was very short.
Yeah, we figured we're going to need about another 48 feet of ramp to make it good and safe for the junior, programs.
So anyone want to put a motion on the floor in terms of how to move forward?
Well, Steve, I'd be willing to join you if you would be so willing at Cap Pasture to kind of see what, because I too agree that it would be nice to not have to pave and to just see if there's, if Cap Pasture or another example is a good one that works. I understand the tidal currents will be different from place to place, but if there's a question of length of area that, either helps or hurts the process of erosion away, then it'd be interesting to know that from a baseline. And I'd be willing to be able to do that before the next meeting.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'm good with that. Maybe we could do both sites. I'm sure, Jim, they would let us on to take a look at that. And then maybe going west to east or east to west. Doesn't matter which one is first or second.
I'm sure that he will, they'd welcome you out there.
Okay, thanks. Jim, are you also to Woodland?
Yes,
In the last meeting, we addressed you in the recording. So it was noticed that the LWRO license application form, number 1, page 7, omitted the license history for 2 Woodland. And it's apparent that there have been other licenses issued for the property. So we kind of regarded that last month as the application was incomplete.
yeah, there was actually one license was issued, and it was issued, I believe, after I had prepared the filing. So I could certainly add that in. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, would it be possible to edit that?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I do have something to add about this project.
go ahead.
We had originally proposed to get the DEP authorization under their 440 dock general permit program. And while we were having discussions with DEP about doing that, someone in the DEP office discovered that, well, at the time they discovered that they were regulating the 440 dock program in a, I guess you might call it an inconsistent way. And it had to do with tidal wetlands. And so somebody in the office said, geez, we can't issue 440 docks when the dock is going to be in tidal wetlands. And they've been issuing 440 docks in tidal wetlands up to that point. And so they contacted me, as well as some other consultants that had applications being processed by DEP for 440 docks where there were tidal wetlands. And we all got a letter from DEP saying that they could no longer process those applications under the 440 GP. And so they asked if we could file a individual permit application for the dock instead, since ours had some tidal wetlands involved.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, but it had some. So we started switching gears on that, and that's when I sent the consult form to the Norwalk Shellfish Commission, as well as other agencies.
Yep.
For consultation. And just more recently, we received additional guidance from DEP dated November 9th, which kind of turned things around again, where DEP, where the commissioner is saying that we could get 440 docks in certain tidal wetland areas as long as certain conditions are met. And one of the conditions that relates to the tidal wetlands is that no more than 100 square feet of structure be proposed over tidal wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
And that no floating components would be allowed over tidal wetlands. And that piles are located outside of tidal wetlands. And then there was a couple of other things. The lowest horizontal member of the fixed pier is 5 feet off the tidal wetland surface. And they had a fifth.
I'm sorry, Jim, could you repeat that last point, the 5 feet?
The lowest horizontal member of the fixed pier needs to be at least 5 feet off the tidal wetland surface. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by the tidal wetland surface.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're talking about the ground that the tidal wetland is growing in. I would think that that relates to that.
yeah, it's my impression that used to be just mean high water.
Well, that's for public access.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I mean,
Yeah. But, this, I guess, relates to minimizing impacts to the tidal wetlands
yeah,
as opposed to, public access.
yeah, it sounds like a sunlight thing.
Yeah, and then they say open grade decking over tidal wetlands is suggested, but not a must.
Yeah, sunlight, rainfall, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So, based on this, I'm switching gears again on this application process, and I'm going to be applying under the 440 doc application again.
Okay, so come back to us next month with that, and also just that edit in terms of the other license history.
Mm-hmm. Be
Okay,
glad to.
yeah, that's
Yep.
cool. All right, thank you, Jim.
Sure.
And anything else on any other projects, Jim? I see one here for Mr. Hill, but no others with your name.
I don't believe I have any other ones in Norwalk at this point.
Yeah, thank you, sir, and all the best to you down there, Jim.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Also under old business, the agent is Mr. Hiltz for 3 Seabreeze. I don't see Mr. Hiltz as a panelist or attendee tonight. This one has been held up for a while. Pretty basic application, and one that we did not do a site inspection visit. I just wanted to get the commission's commentary. I mean, do we want to have Mr. Hiltz come in on this, or my inclination maybe is to put this forward without commentary and just reserve our right to comment under full application. Commissioners?
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. Want to have that in the form of a motion, John? I just, they recorded my statement, so,
Yeah, so move then.
okay, thank you, sir.
Second motion.
Thank you, Nick, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So next items are under new business rather. It was reported that the harbor and shellfish boat enclosure quote from Harbor Master Lavallo was $1,648.65, of which the Shellfish Commission is usually shares 50% of that. Is that something that the commission would like to entertain?
We make a motion on that?
Yeah, please, Nick, if you're so inclined.
Yeah, make a motion that we continue to do the same.
Thank you,
Path.
sir. Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Last item that I have under new business. I would like to report the following. And give me 1 second, just in terms of the text. So I can report that Deep Enforcement has issued a notice of violation for the Norwalk Yacht Club for discharging wastewater without a permit and additional paperwork insufficiency. I do not have yet a copy of the NOV, but I know that it has been issued and is now public. Anything else under new business? Anything else from anyone? Sorry,
Not here.
Jeff, Captain? Okay, hearing none, our next meeting will be into the new year. Everyone have a great holiday season. If I could entertain a motion to adjourn for the night.
Motion to adjourn.
Second emotion.
Thank you, guys, and all in favor.
All right.
Everyone have a great holiday season. Happy New
Hey.
Year.
Steve, we'll
Yeah.
connect separately about that site.
Yeah, just ping me. Thanks, John.
Cheers.
Wonderful.
Yeah, have a happy holidays.
Holidays,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys. Take care all.
Take care.
Bye-bye.